This is Aubrey Martin from Martin Family Real Estate Group at Keller Williams, and I am joined today by my general contractor partner, Tricia Johnson over at PDX Aero Painting and Construction. Tricia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure.
So today we're going to be talking about a bunch of different things. I know that a lot of people are putting a lot of money and effort and time into beautifying their home, either just because they want to stay in it for a while or because they're interested in selling it. So Tricia and I work on many projects throughout the year, from pre-listing preparation to repair addenda. And then a lot of our buyers then use Tricia once they moved into their home in order to do some renovations. And I have folks that have moved in and decide to use Tricia's services years down the road for projects that they'd like to do. So that's sort of our history. Tricia, do you want to tell me how you got started and the areas that you service?
How I got started. I pretty much started right out of high school painting. And I don't know why I got into it, but my dad's a remodeler, and even my older brother was a painter and now a developer. And so it was just kind of a family, just being around the family. And so I started painting and just never stopped. But after a couple of kids, I decided to start expanding and not doing so much of the work myself. So I have a lot of experience actually working in homes, but now I manage a handful of crews doing work.
And aside from painting, which is interior and exterior, what are the other kinds of services that you are providing? What other kinds of projects are you doing for people?
So right now I do bathroom and kitchen remodel. I do a lot of flooring, and then I have handyman repairs. So right now I have 2 handyman full-time that does a lot of the like repair addendums and a lot of just small projects. And then I also do decking. We do decking, fencing, and then painting, all painting.
So much painting.
So much painting. Yes.
And what does your team look like currently as far as who's on your crew?
So I have 3 full painting crews, 3 full-time painting crews, and it's usually 2 to 3 guys each crew. And then I have my handyman crew with 2 guys, and then I have a remodeling crew. That's just kind of, and then I have a couple of partners that I work with as well. I have a good drywall company I use. They've been with me for about 3 years. And then I have a plumber and electrician that I can call in for projects too.
So is there anything that you don't do?
If I don't do it, I like to network a lot. So I always have guys that I can call, and because I've built a relationship with them, they can come out and do things. So we've done concrete. We've done, to just extend to our projects, I'll have people come in and do other parts to make it a little easier for homeowners. But right now we can accommodate most things, most projects.
And what is your service area for regular people, not your real estate friends that ask you to go down to Salem Metro?
Well, I pretty much stay in Portland Metro. And right now I'll go to North Portland, I'll go to Southeast, and I live on the West Side. So West Side is my preferred, but I do cross the bridge at this time. I think with COVID, traffic isn't so bad. So I'll cross the bridge. But sometimes it'll add a good hour of drive time just to cross the bridge. So right now I am the full area. Whoever calls me, I'll come out and see them.
And so, one of the things that we wanted to talk about, and sort of the subject of today's interview, is what are the kinds of projects that people are doing that have the best return on investment? And of course, that's more specifically for people who may be interested in selling down the line. But then also, what are some of the things that people can do that are not super expensive just to update their homes? So what are you seeing as far as trends with return on investment? What are you seeing as those things that are the best things to focus on?
I think it's always important to take care of all of the little irritating things. Like those are the little handyman stuff, because everybody's got a doorknob that doesn't work. They didn't put all of their smoke detectors up. All of those things are really important. So making a list of just little things. The other thing is painting. Painting makes the whole place look clean, new and fresh. And so it's the first thing people see when they walk in, whether it's the exterior, if you have peeling paint or anything like that, people are going to think, this is a big expense. I'm going to have to take care of the exterior. And it really is important to make sure those things are taken care of. And then a fresh coat of paint. And I would think that your investment in painting actually gives you the best return.
And
Because it
are
is
there
the first thing that people see.
and are there colors that seem to be more popular right now with folks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of whites. We're going with a lot of off whites. Incredible White is one of my favorites. It's a soft, like warm gray. And then it still shows contrast. So if you have white trim, it'll show that contrast without being too dark. An off-white, like alabaster, is kind of a creamier white. So not a stark, bright white. You want something with a tiny bit of color at least.
Some
And
warmth,
then agreeable gray,
of course.
accessible beige. Those are all really neutral tones, but I think people are wanting to see light, a lot of light and brightness. So staying on the lighter side, the off-whites are the best way to go right now.
And what about on the exterior paints?
Actually, whites are popular outside too. I think in the last week and coming up 2 weeks, I've got 5 houses all going alabaster white. And so in my 20 some odd years of painting exteriors, I've only done a handful of whites. And so to do that many in a short period of time is huge. Like, it's really, really popular. It's really modern and clean.
You just painted one in Aloha for one of my listings that went from kind of a dingiest gray to this very dark navy blue with like a white trim. And we're seeing that pop up all over Portland, and it looks sharp with like a red door. I mean, doors are the other thing, right? Like, as far as painting on the exteriors, painting a door is, I think, such a small investment, but can really pack a punch.
So really, anytime you're putting something in front of people's face, like the front door, that's the first thing they see when they walk in. And I think it's really trendy right now to have some popular colors. So teals, aquas, yellows, and we've done some golds that just really add a pop of color, make a big difference. And navy blue houses are very popular right now too. So white and navy blue are probably the ones I'm doing the most.
And we talk a lot about what's going on with supply and demand right now, not just in houses, but also just in paint and construction supplies. Can you give me an idea of sort of what's happening out there as far as the lack of availability of those items?
So it's not even just lack of availability. I have a hard time even just assessing pricing. So we were doing a roof, and in 3 days I had bought plywood for $57 a panel. And in 3 days it went up to 83. And so even just doing quotes, I have to be very careful with materials because they change from day to day. And it's hard to even know where they're at, but all suppliers on plywood are limited. Like if I wanted to go get 15 panels, I think I'm limited to 10 a week. And some places won't even sell it to general contractors. They'll only sell it to the big builders. So there's places that won't even allow me in unless I already have a built relationship with them. We also have paint. We're in low supply. So I'm ordering ahead of time so that I know in 2 or 3 weeks, my clients already have their paint. Plumbing materials. We went to replumb a whole house and we can't get like 45-degree angle pieces. Like, they're not even listed on the website to order them. So we had to call like 4 supply places just to get all the plumbing parts we needed.
And so what do you think is the reason for that? Like, what is happening out there?
I mean, I guess there's so many, like, people have all these opinions. Some of it is that during the beginning of COVID, several places closed. A lot of the suppliers closed. They closed down for 2 or 3 months. And then now we're seeing that there's a lot of lumber, but the lumber yard's closed, so nothing was milled. So now we are seeing the backup of short supply, especially when everybody wants to remodel. Everybody's home. They want to do stuff. They want to build. They want to add. They're not going on vacation, so they're putting their money into their home. And all of that is adding to short supply.
So, what do you think about if someone wants to list their home, for example, and their house is dated? We see this a lot, right? Especially
Mhm.
on the west side of Portland, you see a lot of homes that were built in the 80s and the 90s. And so that equals like a lot of brass, a lot of oak. People are
Yeah.
wanting to like remodel. In that case, where do you feel like their money is best spent? Is it, what if the kitchen needs a remodel or a bathroom? Do you feel like those are good returns on investment? Because typically kitchens and bathrooms are what sold a house. In this market, literally everything sells.
Yeah.
And so do you feel like those are sort of important things to address, or do you think it's really better to just deal with repairs, paint, and just and maybe, you know, flooring if it's in bad shape?
So I would say if the bathroom, like a lot of bathrooms built in the 80s and 90s, you still have the same vinyl floor, like it's never been changed. It's easy to do LVT over the top, like just updating a couple of things will make the bathroom look newer. And if you were going to do that, I think that would be the best place to start, just doing minor updates. And that way, I mean, if you were going to stay there, maybe you want to put $20,000 into your bathroom remodel and get everything you wanted, but to sell it, you're not going to get that back. However, if you update the floor, change out the toilet, maybe paint the cabinets and just update the colors in there, you can spend a lot less money and still get the look of a remodeled bathroom, which will help it sell faster and give you a little bit more money in the offers. And the
And
same in
thinking
the kitchen.
in the
It's really
kitchen.
easy to paint cabinets. It's really easy to update the hardware. And then you have a nicer kitchen that people want. They like painted cabinets.
And the light fixtures, I think, are another big
Yep.
piece. Just
So the
updating
things
all
that
those
date.
fixtures. Yeah, the things that date it, right? One of the biggest transformations that I have ever seen was a project that you and I did a few months ago. And this was a home in Sherwood, the famed horse farm.
Mhm.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful home. The way that it was, though, was somewhat dated in some areas. And um, at that point, the way that it was, it might have sold for $1 million. But we had Tricia come in, and one of the most really outstanding remodels I think I've seen was this. It was a beautiful brick home that was this tan brick. And it was really sort of blah. And we came in and she painted, it was like a cream color.
It was alabaster.
Was it that
Yep.
alabaster, right? Kind of this
Mhm.
warm white, and it already had this sort of teak underlay. And we painted the door, and I was very unsure about this, but Trisha was dead on. There was like this charcoal gray, and
Mhm.
it just, and the pillars were the same. And then inside, we changed out all of the floors, mostly to carpet and LVT, but there was like one area of hardwood that was like an engineered hardwood that was like a herringbone in the dining room. And we didn't touch anything in the kitchen. You know, the bathrooms, we changed out some of the counters, but for the most part, we just changed a couple of fixtures. No big, you know, bathroom remodels. um, and then this house that would have been maybe $1 million, they put about $70,000 worth of work into the house, right? Just the paint on
Yeah.
the inside, the outside, some of the flooring, a little bit of stuff in the bathroom, some light fixtures. So a house that would have been listed for $1 million, we ended up selling for over 1.4. You know, so a $400,000 difference for putting about $70,000 worth of work into the home. Now, of course, that's on a large scale because that home was more expensive, but that's the kind of return on investment that like some floors, some fixtures, and some paint can have for you. That
Yeah.
was a
Agreed.
that was a good one.
Yeah. And I think like you're really good at knowing what would make it worth it going into a house and knowing the market. So, you know, as a realtor, you have a lot of say in what's going to make selling the house and how far they should go.
Well, and one of the other things that you provide as part of your services that you didn't mention are things like landscaping and trash removal,
Mhm.
because simple things like landscaping, just cleaning things up, trimming things up, getting rid of the garbage can also make a huge difference, I think, with that curb appeal that you're talking about as
Yeah.
well. Any trends that you're seeing sort of coming up in the market now that we're in this sort of kind of coming out of COVID, as far as different materials that people are wanting to use, or finishes, anything like that?
So I think we're seeing a lot of the bronze come back in. And I don't even know what the color is, but it's not a really bright bronze, but I'm seeing a lot of that. And it's becoming a lot more popular. And I wonder how it's going to age, because I can see we're kind of ending that oil rubbed black and going into that bronze, but it sure looks nice up against like jewel tone cabinets. Jewel tones are really, really popular and adds a lot of color, just like an accent wall or an accent on cabinets. I see that a lot. Engineered flooring is coming back. And I've done more of engineered flooring in the last few months than I have in the last couple of years. LVT is still a good option. It's a waterproof click vinyl floor, but we're switching to more of the woods again.
And are those harder
So,
to find and becoming really expensive though, because of the whole lumber situation?
you know what? Not flooring. I think we kind of dealt with a backstock of flooring, like we couldn't get flooring in around maybe October through February. We were having a really hard time with flooring, but now they seem to have caught up.
Hmm.
So I can get flooring in a lot quicker. And I haven't had any issues. I can usually get it. We have a couple of suppliers up in Washington, and I usually can get their flooring in a week.
And
So
what about as far as surfaces? And I have seen some of your flooring recently on some clients' houses that have been engineered, and they're sharp, they're beautiful, and a lot of the lighter woods as opposed to the darker.
yeah.
It's been interesting. What about the finishes as far as on the countertops, quartz versus granite versus corian versus tile? What are we seeing there?
We are doing quartz. Quartz is the most popular one still. Corian is out. It costs more money because people aren't using it. And I think that the stone of the quartz feels more expensive. Like just the way it feels, the weight that it has, the texture, the cooling of it. So we are still seeing quartz, and marbles are really popular in quartz. So a marbling, usually white. People are choosing pure white or the speckled white or a marble white, and those are the most popular still.
And it's interesting about the whites, because I
Uh-huh.
think people either really love them or they really don't. But you're seeing white sort of across the board, both in
Mhm.
interior paint, exterior paint on, they're really wanting of kind of more of that minimalist modern,
Yeah.
uh, sounds like is really what's in style right now.
Yep. And then they'll put the pop of color somewhere. So I think we are moving away from subway tile and going with ones that are still simple, but maybe have a design, a shape to them rather than just a subway or an elongated subway. So I am seeing the subway tile kind of changing. That was really, really popular. It's still just really inexpensive. So I think it's a great option if you're selling the house and need to do a bathroom or a backsplash. So it's not something I don't see going away completely, but I am seeing that change a little bit.
One thing that's been interesting when we work together is when we're working together with someone who is about to list their home, as opposed to someone who is just moved into their home and wants to kind of make it their own. We have been able to do several projects that have been really excellent about feeling updated without spending a lot of money. We can do, beadboard for backsplash where there is no
Mhm.
backsplash, right? Like we can use materials that look and feel expensive but are not. So if you're selling your home, you're not going to use the same sort of materials as if you're going to be living in your home. And I swear that backsplash is one of those things that can update a kitchen or a bathroom so easily. If there is none, or if it just looks really sort of worn, backsplash can really do an enormous amount to sort of change the feel. But we are really good, I think, about working within a budget. We had a house
Hmm.
in Canby that we were working on. That was an old house, and the floors were really right. The floors were really
Yep.
rough. The kitchen was rough. It was half painted, and Tricia ended up putting LVT down on the floors that were, just sort of ripped up. Just paint, interior paint, some fixture changes, added some backsplash to the kitchen. Not an enormous amount of money. I think it was like a $4,000, like a
Yeah.
$4,000 job, but it
Yeah.
added about $40,000 in price to what we were able to sell it for after your work as opposed to before, without really spending a huge budget.
Yep. And so that makes a big point that there's a lot of things that you can do just to clean things up and update them without having to spend a lot of money. I also have access, because I do a lot of these kind of turns for real estate, that I can get LVT flooring that looks really nice and get a great price point. And I have some carpet as well that I just have a really great price points on a couple of things. So if we need to update something, we can do that at a good price.
Well, and another project that we just did too was, this is like my favorite Trisha story, is we worked on this enormous house together in Cooper Mountain, and to get it on the market. So much paint, so much flooring, just like a lot of updates. And then I sold the house, and the people that bought the house wanted a recommendation for a contractor. So I gave Trisha's name, right, to the buyer's agent. They closed on their home, and now they are using you to remodel that same home.
Yep. Yep.
And
It's a little strange. We put in all new flooring, and now we're tearing it out and put in all new flooring, all new paint, updating things, doing cabinets in jewel tones. So they just want to personalize it to the current style.
well, and this is the cautionary tale as well, is that if you're listing your house, do not spend too much money on things that people may not want. So luckily, the changes that they had done for those things were not the super expensive items that someone was just going to come in and rip out anyway. So you have to be careful when you're listing. Don't overspend, because if the person who's buying it is going to change it anyway, then you've just spent all this money on changing something that someone else is going to change anyway. So it's
Mhm.
really important to have that balance. You need to make sure that the house looks presentable and it looks clean and fresh and updated, but you don't want to put in so much money, right?
Yeah.
That the next people, if they want to tear all of that out, is that where you're not going to get a good return on investment.
And that's also, I think it's hard for people sometimes to remove themselves from like the emotion of the house. Like, I want it to look this way. This is how I like it. But somebody else, they really want a clean slate, just something easy that they can personalize. So if somebody can come in and just add an accent wall, that's what they're looking for. They don't want to have to redo everything. And they see that in their mind when they walk into a house. How much money am I going to have to spend in this?
Well, which is one of the reasons why what you said in the very beginning about repairs is so important. Because if
Mhm.
people see repairs that need to get done, even if it's like small stuff, but there's a lot of small stuff, it really turns people off, because they feel like, if this hasn't been done, what about, is there deferred maintenance all over the house? Even if that's
Yeah.
not necessarily true, but people's eyes will automatically go to the things that are wrong with the house. And to neutralize the house as much as you can and depersonalize it when you're going to sell it is really the most important piece, for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, it has been really fun to do all these projects with you. We have several coming up. I know that you are really, pretty booked up with your cruise, but we do have your information here on the side for people to reach out to you. But Tricia, it's a pleasure as always. I thank you for your excellent work and expertise for myself and for my clients. And just thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Have a good
It's
night,
fun
everybody.
chatting.
Thanks for
All right. Thanks.
watching. Bye.